Have you ever knocked on the door of someone you love and wished you never had? That happened to me. I drove 4 hours to surprise my grandpa. But when he opened the door, his face turned white. He grabbed my arm, looked over my shoulder, and whispered only 5 words. Get inside. Hide. Right now. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Pause. That day changed my life forever. My name is Daniel, and this happened 2 years ago. My grandpa, Henry, lived alone in a small town surrounded by forests. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other. At least, that's what I believed. Grandpa was 78 years old. He was kind, funny, and loved fishing more than anything. When I was little, every summer I stayed with him. We built birdhouses, caught fish, and ate homemade apple pie. But after I started working, life became busy. Calls became shorter. Visits became fewer. Then, almost a whole year passed without seeing him. One Friday afternoon I decided enough was enough. I packed a small bag, bought his favorite blueberry pie, and drove to surprise him. I imagined him smiling. I imagined a warm hug. Instead, I found fear. When Grandpa pulled me inside, he locked 3 different locks on the front door. Then he closed every curtain. His hands were shaking. I had never seen him like that. Grandpa, what's wrong? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked through the window. Then he whispered, "Keep your voice down." I laughed nervously. "Seriously, what's going on?" He looked at me with tired eyes. "I think someone has been watching this house." A cold feeling ran through my body. "What do you mean?" "For almost 2 weeks, someone parks a black SUV near the road every evening." I walked toward the window. He stopped me. "No. They watch every movement." I looked at him. Was he confused? Was he imagining things? Or was he telling the truth? That evening we ate dinner quietly. Grandpa barely touched his food. Every few minutes he checked outside. Around 8 o'clock, headlights appeared through a small opening in the curtains. A black SUV. It stopped across the road. The engine stayed running. Neither of us spoke. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Then, the SUV slowly drove away. Grandpa finally took a deep breath. "You see." I nodded. Now I believed him. But I still didn't know why anyone would watch an old man living alone. Later that night I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard footsteps outside. Very slow. Very careful. Crunch. 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 Someone was walking across the gravel. I quietly looked through the bedroom window. A shadow moved near Grandpa's shed. Then another. 2 people. My heart pounded. I woke Grandpa. He calmly picked up his phone. "I already called the sheriff yesterday," he whispered. "They found nothing." The footsteps stopped. A flashlight shined across the backyard. Then everything became silent again. By morning, there was no one outside. Only fresh footprints leading into the woods. The sheriff came after breakfast. He checked around the property. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was damaged. He smiled politely. Probably teenagers. Grandpa didn't smile back. "They're looking for something." The sheriff shrugged and left. I wanted to believe the sheriff. But something felt wrong. That afternoon I offered to clean Grandpa's old garage. While moving dusty boxes, I found an old metal toolbox. Inside was a faded envelope. It had my grandmother's handwriting. Grandpa slowly sat down. "I haven't seen that in years." Inside the envelope was a map. On the back was one sentence. "If anything happens to us, protect the truth." I looked at Grandpa. What truth? He closed his eyes. Then he told me a story I had never heard. Many years earlier, Grandpa worked for a construction company. One day they discovered barrels of dangerous chemicals buried near a river. Someone had hidden them there illegally. Grandpa secretly took pictures. He wanted to report it. But before the investigation finished, the company suddenly closed. The owners disappeared. The case was forgotten. Except, Grandpa kept copies of the evidence. I thought everyone involved was gone, he said quietly. Maybe I was wrong. The room became completely silent. Could someone still be searching after all these years? That night, the black SUV returned. But this time, it didn't stay on the road. It slowly entered Grandpa's driveway. Its headlights lit up the house. Someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. Nobody moved. Another knock. Louder. Grandpa whispered, "Don't answer." The knocking stopped. Then, a man's voice. "We know you're home." Every hair on my arms stood up. "We just want to talk." Grandpa stayed silent. After a long minute, the SUV drove away. I immediately called the sheriff again. This time officers arrived quickly. They searched the area but found only tire tracks. The sheriff finally looked serious. He promised to increase patrols. Still, Grandpa didn't feel safe. The next morning I made coffee while Grandpa searched through old papers. Suddenly he smiled. "I remember." He reached behind an old bookshelf. There was a loose wooden panel. Behind it, a small waterproof box. Inside were photographs, documents, and an old flash drive. Everything connected to the illegal dumping site from decades ago. "I forgot I hid these here," Grandpa whispered. Now everything made sense. Someone believed Grandpa still had the evidence. And they were right. We drove straight to the state environmental office and handed everything over. The investigators couldn't believe how complete the records were. One officer looked at Grandpa and said, "You protected this for over 30 years." Grandpa simply nodded. I was waiting for the right people. Over the next few weeks, investigators reopened the old case. Several people connected to the illegal operation were finally identified. The black SUV never returned. The quiet little town became peaceful again. Grandpa finally slept through the night. So did I. Pause. One evening we sat on the porch watching the sunset. The same porch where I had spent so many summers as a child. Grandpa looked at me and smiled. "You know what scared me most?" I shook my head. It wasn't the people outside. It was thinking I might leave this world before telling someone the truth. His words stayed with me. A few months later, we started having dinner together every Sunday. Not because something terrible happened, but because I realized time with people we love is never guaranteed. I had spent years saying, "I'll visit next month. I'll call next weekend. I'll make time later." Later almost became too late. When I think back on that day, I realize the biggest surprise wasn't the black SUV or the hidden evidence. It was discovering how lonely my grandpa had become while I was busy chasing my own life. Sometimes the people we love don't ask for help. They simply hope we will knock on the door. That unexpected visit reminded me that showing up for someone can matter more than any gift or any phone call. I will never again assume there will always be another chance. The greatest treasures are not hidden in old boxes or secret maps. They are the people who quietly wait for us to remember them. Visit your family. Listen to their stories. Protect the truth. And never wait for someday to tell someone they matter. Because sometimes, one unexpected visit can change 2 lives forever.